Alright everybody, we're going to see if this microphone works. So I had a Movo that was suggested, and even with the audio gain, the microphone gain turned down to negative 18 dB, which is a lot. It was still overpowering and causing the audio to kind of crackle and break up and all that good stuff. So I'm back on the Giant Squid with the Insta360 4K. I've got it turned down to negative 18, and I put that instead of the foam wind socks, I put the one with the whiskers. Supposedly the foam works well for certain types of noise, but wind noise, the whisker works better. I don't know. I bought packets of them on Amazon, and I'm trying them both. So we will see. The problem is when you're just standing there talking, you know, it's fine. It sounds actually really good. Hey dude, get on your side of the road. Everybody does that. They don't understand. You turn there. You don't turn over there. Quarter throttle power wheelie. Alright, so we're on the Insta360. I played with the settings the other day. I didn't use any audio, didn't bother publishing it because the audio didn't work out with the Movo mic. Try this, and if this doesn't work, I'm just going to have to go through lapel mics until I find one that's not too sensitive, that can handle higher volumes of wind noise. I also got to see if I can control how loud I talk. You know, when the motor starts screaming and stuff, when you get in the higher revs, you have a tendency to talk louder, just like when you're talking to your buddy in a room. When it's quiet, you don't talk that loud. When there's a lot of background music or noise, you end up talking real loud. So I'm going to see how I can get this thing to work. I'm doing 4K 60. I just left it in all auto settings. You know, in the past I tried to play with the ND filters with the Insta360, and the problem is when you're playing with the ND filters, it really takes away from the flow state, which is their motion compensation, stability. So you introduce image blur by playing with the ISO and all that kind of stuff with the shutter speed, and it works really well on GoPros. Which sucks. Everything works well on GoPros. The problem is the GoPros don't work that much. They're the least reliable camera out there. So, and the DJI takes almost as good a video as a GoPro. It takes excellent video. But I'm not paying another $330 for a non-waterproof wired mic setup where you never saw it on camera, but it's like the camera goes in the cage because I have to have a cold shoe mount to mount this receiver box that's half the size of the camera. All right, so that's mounted on top of the camera. So the camera's already bigger because it's in a metal cage. Then you got a receiver on top of that. Then you got to have a USB plug that goes from that into the camera. So now you got an extra wire dangling around that the wind is falling at. Or if you go to reach up and do something, your finger accidentally catches it and unplugs it. Then you've got a transmitter box that goes in your pocket, and then you got to run a wire up through your jacket pocket up into the helmet to the microphone that's velcroed in place in the front of the helmet. So you get all these moving parts that can easily get jostled, loose, things like that get unplugged, knocked out of the way. And then there's three things to charge. You got to charge the camera, you got to charge the transmitter and the receiver. So it's a real pain in the ass dealing with all that stuff. Now, when it worked, it actually gave me really good audio quality because I could fine-tune the gain on the transmitter, on the receiver, and on the camera. And between those three, I could knock the audio levels down to where I wasn't getting any distortion, nothing was getting overblown, and then I would just boost it in post to get it to the loudness that I wanted. So yeah, so anyway, back to the video part. When you introduce motion blur into the video, dead animal, it makes it hard. The image itself isn't as distinct, it's blurry to an extent. So then the image stabilization, it has a harder time locking on any individual pixels as reference points to go through its algorithms and stabilize it. So I've decided to just forego the motion blur and stuff. I'll do 4K 60. Now I did try 4K 30 HDR, which is really good if you've got the camera sitting somewhere. It really makes the colors pop. It brings out the contrast and exposes details that would normally be hidden in shadows. The problem is, and that's unusual to have HDR on an action cam, so kudos to them for doing it. The problem then becomes it can't do the flow state image stabilization. You've got to do it in the app after the fact, and it adds a whole other step to processing. I was thinking of just ripping around these cars. I'm glad I didn't do that, because that is a Hall County Sheriff's deputy up there in the Explorer. Sometimes it could be good to be distracted by what I'm talking about, because that keeps me from being an idiot. Anyway, so hopefully this audio is coming out pretty good. And I'm not going really fast. I'm going 53 miles an hour. I'm hoping this guy doesn't turn left up there, because I want to go hit a couple little twisty bits so I can get on the gas a little bit. Don't turn, don't turn, don't turn. All right, he's not turning. So, hopefully this is all working. If not, it'll be like the last 2 videos I've taken. You didn't know I took videos, because I listened to the audio, or the image quality was just So I'm sitting here having to dial this in. It should give us a flashing yellow light. That's plenty of, you can see plenty of the way up the road to see if there's a car coming to make the left. So if this doesn't work, I've heard that a lot of vloggers are using the Rode, R-O-D-E, Lavalier 2, Lavalier, whatever, the Lav, and they're calling it professional grade. Professional it is, but it is almost $100. So if this doesn't work, I've got a TRS to a TRRS adapter that'll let me use the Purple Panda and see if that one works. I mean, one of the microphones is eventually going to work. It's just a matter of having a microphone that's not as sensitive. Normally you look for one that has like certain... fuck, I'm going anyway. This is stupid. Unless there's cars coming. Problem is the bike won't set off the damn sensor, so you just got to sit there for half an hour until a car comes along. Definitely one of the best bikes I've ever bought. The comfort and riding position of the Street Triple RS, but more of the power of the R1 and the sound of the R1. It is just blistering. Every little turn, little wheelie, effortless. Sound, man. If you haven't checked out Ant-Man Moto, I was watching one of his videos. That son of a bitch, lucky bastard, he gets to ride and do a video and chase on 2 wheels, get some great promotion for his channel. I'm very happy for you, Dean, but at the same time you suck, because I say that with love. It's like I've been trying to get in front of Chase for a while, and I keep having my guy Josh, who's the finance manager over at Mountain Motorsports in Roswell's, like, oh dude, I know Chase, he's in here all the time, I gotta hook you up with him. I'm like, yeah, hook me up with him. Dean goes over and stumbles into him and gets to go on a ride with him and cross-promote the channel. Same thing with Chris Moore. It's like I had to make my own videos when I went up there. Chris does a lot of cool videos. Love Chris. Highly recommend More Mafia up in South Carolina. Does some great work and just a really cool dude. Can't recommend him enough. And I go up there all the time. Nothing. Wesley goes up once, gets premiered on a video, and gets 250,000 views or some shit. I'm like, God damn it. Life is all about timing. Apparently, I don't have it. Nor do I seem to have the ability to pick a good camera and audio setup that actually works. I thought I had it. As inconvenient as the DJI setup was, it did work very well. Even though it was a pain. And then I get stuck in a thunderstorm. Fried it. I'm like, well, the camera's waterproof. Surely the wireless mic setup they sell for it, it's not really sold for the action cam though. It's something they sell for their other cameras and gimbals. And I was like, I wonder if this will survive the thunderstorm on the way home. I get home, I dried it out, blew it out with an air compressor, put it in the thing right. I mean, all the things you're supposed to do. And yeah, it was just shot. I like that sticker on the back of his car. Come and take it. Molin Labe. For you anti-gun people out there, I dare you. Go ahead, come and take it. See what happens. This is one of my best quotes, Molin Labe, one of my favorites. Actually, I like Si vis pacem parabellum, which has a few translations over the years. You've heard it. You may not have heard Si vis pacem parabellum. Although you might have heard it in one of the John Wick movies, now that I think about it. But it's probably not a phrase that most people are used to in the Latin form. What they're probably more used to is one translation or interpretation, I should say, was, if you desire peace, prepare for war. Well, what's that mean? Well, peace through strength. Speak softly but carry a big stick. Those are all interpretations, variations of that Latin quote. Which, what it means really is, if you want peace, you have to be prepared to flex. You have to be prepared to defend yourself. Your enemies and people that would maybe do you harm need to see that you're not an easy target. You think about it on a national level or militarily, or even a criminal, you know? It's like if you're looking to just steal someone's purse or grab their wallet or cell phone or something, are you going to pick on a guy that looks like The Rock, or the guy that's got a gun on his hip carrying openly, which most states, well, a lot of states allow? Or are you going to go after the little old lady or the older guy or the one who looks like a pussy or a hippie that you know can't fight and you know isn't going to be armed? Which one, if you're a criminal, if you're of that persuasion, who are you going to pick as the target? The big guy that looks like he can take care of himself? Maybe, if you think you have enough people to take him, or you can get the surprise of it. But if you have an option of him or a weaker target, you're going to go for the weaker target. And I think that's something most people should live their lives by. It's like, you don't have to go out looking for a fight. But we live in a world full of predators, sex predators, other nations, criminals and thugs and just punks that would, you know, come up and try to punch you in the face and knock you out, you know, as part of some stupid TikTok challenge. Or just some really bad people walking around that would smoke your ass or stick a knife in your belly without even thinking twice. That's the world we live in. Kind of all wish we didn't. I wish we could leave our doors unlocked and not have to think about things like defense and stuff. But unfortunately, bad guys don't give you that luxury. So the best thing you can do is be prepared. I don't mean at a level where you're paranoid, but just recognize that bad things happen to good people. And if someone wants to take what's yours, the best thing you can do is, A, not make yourself a target to begin with. Make yourself as unappealing of a target as possible. Retain some situational awareness and try to not get into jams in the first place. But be prepared that if someone calls your bluff, you may have to back it up with something more than words or show. And that means having the tools for the job. That means knowing how to fight, knowing how to take a punch, knowing how to extricate yourself from a situation, knowing how to de-escalate. But if push comes to shove and you're backed into a corner, if you got to draw your weapon and put somebody down, if it's you and your life or a loved one or even an innocent bystander, well, that falls on the person that's the aggressor. There's nothing wrong with taking a defensive stance. So I support that guy and his come and take it, because it's not just talking about a gun. It's not just talking about a thing. It's talking about your ability to defend your freedom, your ability to keep you and yours safe. And nobody has a right to take that away, especially if it's just some pussy hippie. I don't believe in guns. This world just doesn't believe in guns. And the first time they're mugged, what are they going to do? Pick up the phone and call someone, the police, with guns. Please send someone with guns to help me. But that's what the police are for. Not really. If they just happen to walk along while you need help, a cop will step in and take a bullet for you 99.9% of the time. And you got to respect that. But the chances of the cop being there exactly the moment you need them, it's not very good. What's it, like 10,000 for every cop that's, typically on duty in America? That's 10,000 citizens per every cop that's on duty. Maybe worse now since this defund movement. All right, if this doesn't start moving, I'm gonna make a frickin' U-turn and get the hell out of here, because this isn't very compelling video, and it's getting hot, and it's not a lot of fun, so I don't know what the shit's going on up there. Let's go up that way. Come on. Get out. I get on the revs a little bit because I need to get the noise levels up. That front end just keeps bouncing up. I was at 25-30% throttle max. It's just absolutely nuts. I'm trying to get up to highway speeds. 76. We'll look back and see how the wind noise was. But yeah, I've got to find a solution for the audio. I'm also thinking about when I've got the helmet cam mounted. That's another thing I noticed. I like the view of the dash and stuff like that, and it's a little more static. You just see cockpit view of the rides without me looking and checking traffic and doing this all the time, which I think some people might not like that. I mean, to me, it's POV, right? It's what I'm actually doing. And when you are riding, you're not staring straight ahead. You're looking in your mirror. You're looking to check your blind spot. You see a nice set of boobs over there. You're going to look, right? But the image stabilization seems to work better when it's on your helmet, because your body is, 3/4 water, and it's not a rigid frame, giggity. So, you kind of move around a little bit, but it's not jittery when it's mounted as it is when it's mounted rigid to part of the bike. So I notice sometimes that even with the image stabilization up all the way, it's not as fluid. You can see a little jitters here and there. That's watchable. Anyway, so if I use the helmet cam, that does help with the image stabilization. And what I'm going to do is, at least when I'm riding this bike, I guess I could do it on any of my, well, no, because the other ones don't have, I'd have to put power sockets. I've got a power adapter right there. You see where my finger's pointing down there? Like a cigarette lighter. Well, that's what my radar detector, I've got a really nice radar laser detector. So what I'm going to do is get a mount that takes a little flat plate that mounts to this mount right here, and it'll sit right there, and then I'll just have to coil up the wires and then plug it in, and that way when I go to the mountains, I can have my radar detector going, because most of the time it's GSP up there, and they run KA band, and that radar detector picks that up a mile and a half away. Like there's times where it's going off, and it's going crazy for like 35, 40, 45 seconds before I even see that cop up ahead. I mean, it picks it up forever. I mean, if you're going right past them and they just go boom and turn it on, it's one thing. But when they're rolling up and down the road and there's other cars and bikes around, they're typically just running it. And then no car radar detectors will pull it up. But I think the cops know that most people on motorcycles don't have radar detectors, and so they can just leave it running, knowing that by the time you see the cop, it's too late. He's already got you. So and I'm not doing that to be a hooligan. I'm doing it because I got to get the noise levels up. I got to get on a little stretch and get wide open. I want to see if it distorts the audio, because that's what's happening. You get above a certain dB level and the microphone just kind of shits the bed. It starts crackling. You get clipping. Like, you ever try to take video of like a really loud car exhaust or something up close with your cell phone, and it starts clipping or cutting out? That's why. You're overpowering the microphone. You can get rid of a lot of that by reducing the microphone gain, so that if the microphone is okay with the noise level, it's just putting out a signal so loud that it gets overblown in the camera. That's where reducing the gain on the camera, just like turning down the volume knob on the signal coming in, that can get rid of it. If the microphone itself can't handle the noise level and it's distorted, then it won't fix that. Oh, no pity in the yard. Every time I see a pity running around, I always get sad, think about Max. I need to get to a little straightaway, somewhere where I know I can see that there's no, I'm not trying to speed through residential. I just need to find a piece of road I can get up to high RPMs for 5 seconds, so I can go back and see if because if it works there, then it'll work on track, it'll work in the mountains. I gotta get it about as loud as I can, so I gotta get enough speed to get wind noise really to be a factor, and then I need to get that engine screaming. So I'm on this bike because it's the loudest of the three. So I figure if anyone's gonna do it, it'll be Mr. Yamaha. Oh, is that a cop up ahead? Come on. If it is, I'm gonna be so annoyed. It's like, how many cops am I gonna pass today? Like everywhere. I don't think so. That looks like a Kia Telluride. I don't think it's an Explorer. But when they have that little luggage rack on top, sometimes it looks like a little mini light bar. But I think that's a Hyundai Palisade or a Telluride. We'll just pull up on him and find out. Yeah, it's a Palisade. So if I get a chance to pass him, I shall do so. And then we'll see what's up. So anyway, back to my position on guns. Speak softly and carry a big stick. We live in a dangerous world. We need to protect what's yours. Potentially. I mean, most of us will go through life without ever having to do it, but who wants to be that schmuck that finds themselves in a bit of a pickle through no fault of their own? Some thug is not giving them an option, and it's do or die time. Happens every day. Turn on the news. Literally every day. Chances might be slim, but it's going to happen to someone. And you've seen a bunch of stories lately about people who stopped a mall shooting, that stopped this, protected themselves. Home invader shoots their attacker, and you know, that's a good thing. Another criminal off the street. trying to find a straightaway. He keeps gassing it like he's going to outrun me in a Kia SUV. And actually, the Telluride is a nice SUV. I actually like it. Come on, hurry up, slow car. Get past them. Anyway, so I was watching Dean and his Chase on two wheels crossover. He was on a brand new RS V4 Aprilia factory. Just a lustful bike. And he's like, this is the best sounding motor in motorcycling. And I totally agree with Dean. I don't know how I jump over top. This is my ADD. I jump from one topic to the other because that's how I think. It's hard to stay focused on any one thing for long. Squirrel. So, I would absolutely agree. Aprilia V4 is the best sounding bike on the market. This is number 2. You know why? Because it sounds like an Aprilia V4. It just, the note on it, it snarls. It's not that high-pitched, whiny ZX-10R kind of thing, which, you know, is a good sounding bike with the right pipe. But cross-plane crank sounds like a V4. Maybe because the firing order makes it more like a V4. I mean, that must be it. They're firing at different angles, but if it's the same interval, then I don't know, maybe that's what does it. But I always mistake. When I hear one of these coming down the road, or an R1, I never know. I'm like, it sounds like an Aprilia, and you never really know that they sound that close. But he was on that Aprilia wailing on it. I was like, God damn, I want that bike, but I'm not spending $26,000 on a bike. I don't know how comfortable it would be. That's why I would get another Tuono in a heartbeat, though. Except I don't know that I would if I've already got this. If I was in the market, now that we know that we have a dealer locally, you know, I went for the Yamaha, and part of me was like, why didn't I just go for the Aprilia? And I think it was just, I don't know what it was. Sometimes I just make impulse buys. But part of me is like, I should have gotten the Aprilia. The only problem with the Aprilia is there is more maintenance involved. The Aprilia is a reliable bike. They're very good. They're sexy. The electronics are amazing. The motor, amazing. It's a V4 1100. This is making 150 around town, or even up in the mountains where you don't, you know, where you put down that kind of power. Not that much. And I would be curious to see how much his pulled on me, because I think his is geared a little taller because he's got the half fairing. That bike is made to go a little higher top speed because you're never really going to try to go 170 on a naked bike. Mine might be geared a little lower. So acceleration wise, they might be closer than we think, but his is the faster bike overall. And I love them. I love everything they're about. I love the way they do the electronics. They think like racers. The Italian passion shines in their product and their design language. Something about Ducatis, something about Aprilias, just like there's something about Ferrari and Lambo, Pagani, Maserati, all those. So, but the one thing there is with those is the maintenance. The valve job is expensive, and the rear cylinders tend to wear out valve guides. So they're a little pricier to upkeep. If you do the maintenance and you do it regularly and you don't rag on it too much, they will last you. But they don't last like a Yamaha. Very few bikes do. I think Yamaha is known as the most reliable brand. Wesley, you're right on that. And as much as I love the Italian bikes, as much as I love Triumphs, this is a fantastic bike. And I'll say, Wesley did tell me, I just didn't like his. His felt, they changed a lot between his generation and this one. A little bit with the motor, big difference in the dash, big difference in the electronics, and big difference in the chassis and the width of the tank and the seat and the ergonomics. When I rode his, I did not like the way it felt. It was very fat. You felt like you were like riding a horse and bow-legged around it. It just, the way it turned in, I'm just like, eh. But this feels like an R1 with handlebars. I think this is closer to the bike it's based on. Kind of like the Aprilia Tuono. That is, when I say detuned, you know, if Dean's bike with the Gabbro box, airbox, and the tune and stuff, mine was making 172 at the wheel. He's at least that. He's probably 172 to 175 at the wheel, which means he's making, got to be making almost 200 at the crank. 15% drivetrain loss. He's got to be in the one, if you were to measure a crank horsepower on his bike, he's got to be in the 190s. So when they say, oh, it's a detuned RSV, you know, RSV, or this is a detuned, yeah, it is, but it's not detuned to stupid levels. This actually has more mid-range than the R1. The Tuono has more mid-range power and torque than the RSV4. You lose a little bit of that top speed, but on a naked bike, I'm not going to go 190 miles an hour. I kind of don't care about that last 10, 20, even the R1's case, 30 horsepower. It's like, I never use that on the street. You barely use it on the track. When you got that much horsepower, how long are you going down the back straight of Road Atlanta? 6 or 7 seconds? Like, you cover that amount of ground so fast on a bike like that. When Wesley goes down the back straight on his R1, he gets on it on the last turn and disappears, and he's hitting the braking zone at what? It's got to be 7 seconds, 8 seconds. It's not that. I mean, it's only a 3/4 mile long, and when you're going 100, you're starting off at 65 and you're ending up at 170 something. You cover that 1/4 mile or 3/4 or half mile, whatever it is, in very little time. So this really does feel like an R1. When I had my Tuono, I had the old one, the 1000, the Rotax motor, great bike. But that bike was literally a Miele that they took off the fairings and slapped a Renthal style bar on it. They didn't change the foot pegs, they didn't change the seat, they didn't change anything. It was literally swap out a couple parts and it's the same bike. The new Tuonos are a little bit detuned, but man, it just doesn't matter. And this now feels like it's in that league. I've had FZ1s, I've had some naked bikes and stuff, and speed twins are, speed triples are great, but they weren't based on a super bike. My Ducati Street Fighter was. That was a bruiser of a bike. I don't know, people will say, oh, this bike's making more than 148 at the wheel. Yeah, absolutely. But they didn't deliver power like that. The way it was delivered was an absolute light switch. It was brutal. There was no ride modes to soften it. It was a cable actuated throttle. When you snapped the throttle, it just boom, like getting shot out of a cannon. There was no waiting for anything. There was no lag. There was no ABS. There was no traction control. There was nothing to keep you out of a ditch other than common sense and a bit of luck. That bike and the Ducati 1198 that I had were probably two of the sketchiest in a good way, because they handled like amazing, but they were two of the scariest, sketchiest, like you got to be on your game to ride those things quickly. You didn't have any electronics, no lean angle sunset, nothing to keep you out of harm's way. You could very instantly write a check that you weren't prepared to cash and get in and over your head in a blink of an eye. As fast as my ZX14 is, it can also be a bit lazy when you want. And it's heavier and, it goes off like a shot, but it was faster than, I don't know how else to explain it. I've had many bikes that were faster than the Street Fighter. Hell, this one's probably a little bit faster than the Street Fighter. But I would hand this bike to a less experienced rider. I would never hand the Street Fighter 1098 to an experienced rider. They're just asking to kill themselves on that. Here I can go, let me just drop it down into, you'll get full power in B or C mode, but it's going to just kind of, bring it on gradually. if you snap the throttle, it's not going to instantly cause the back end to step out or throw the front up off the ground violently. You know, with the electronics and stuff, it's made these amazingly powerful bikes livable. It's made them so that the average person can go and get on one with, you know, without dying. So let's take a right, head back toward Brazelton. Make sure my camera's still recording and I'm not fucking talking to myself. It's hard with this one. The little flashy light is behind the plastic. You don't see it as well. Man, that's a lot of traffic everywhere. Look at all that. Oh man, little goats. I love goats. Goats are cool animals, man. Some of them are cool. They're almost like dogs. When I was at Sarah's wedding, it was at her husband's cousin's house. Steve's got this amazing piece of property over in Bethlehem. And several acres, got horses and a barn and little goats and a chicken coop. Just in this old farmhouse that they restored. Really just really pimp setup if you like country kind of stuff. But he's got these goats. One of them is like a freaking dog. It's a baby goat that's maybe only like 30 pounds. Just little nubbins on his head, doesn't have horns yet. But he just comes running up to Steven and headbutts him, and Riley, who's 12, she was picking him up and carrying him around like a puppy dog, and he just loves it. It's a cool animal. Definitely a fan of goats. I would have goats if I had that kind of property. Help keep the lawn short. Just got to worry about coyotes getting to them. Make sure they're penned up at night. Alright, so wind noise, not too bad. I'm going to go down through Brazelton, and then I'm going to get on the highway. Well, let me think about this. No, we're not going to do that. If I get off at 211, it's going to be backed up a mile to get to that damn traffic light for Friendship Road. So we'll make a right up here, and then I'll take a back road. Actually, right past Margot's house, who will be meeting us for dinner shortly. So far, the only thing I don't like about this microphone is that I've got the one that looks like the cat whiskers. You know, it's got all it, and it tickles the shit out of my chin. Yeah, these little wispy hairs as they blow around, and also as I talk, my jaw moves up and down. I'm gonna try it once, see how it comes out with this. Then I'm gonna go back to the double windsock, the foam ones, and see if that sounds better or worse. I'm determined to make this shit work without having to spend hundreds on wireless mic setups. I want to just have the camera, plug in a little wired mic, tuck the wires up inside behind the cheek pads in the helmet so you don't see them, and just go on about my business. Let me see if I can look in the mirror here and see if my camera is still flashing. Yep. Got any bugs on the lens? No? Surprising. Just about the time I get it all figured out, I'll be like, all right, this is the perfect video. This is going to be awesome. Fucking June bug will go splat right on the lens. I get back and I'm like, I can't see a goddamn thing. Did I ever turn on my headset? No. I should probably do that just in case Donna or them calls me. Says, hey, just meet us at the restaurant. I'm driving around talking to myself. All right. Let's see. trying to figure out how to get my audio levels louder on this Pixel. That's one thing I've noticed in the car and on my headset with them listening to music, is I can turn it up all the way and it's almost like not loud enough. And when you're using line out, it doesn't use the volume control. I need to see if there's an equalizer setting, because then I can go in there and just boost mid-range and highs equally. See if I can boost it up a few dBs across the board. That way I'm not changing the sound, I'm just amplifying it slightly. Alright, so I gotta get through this intersection and then the next one. Growl. Listening to Aerosmith's Janie's Got a Gun. I'll say the temperature's very mild for May. Luckily it's not that hot. I'm sitting in a bunch of traffic, but I try not to eat fast food anymore, very rarely. But every once in a while you go past a Popeyes and you're just like, you know what? I could really go for some goddamn Popeyes chicken. It's just, it's horrible for you, but it's so good. You know, I'll tell you, I said, part of me is like, maybe I should have gotten the Aprilia. Originally, I had heard that the dealership was coming up here. This right here, that whatever that place is right there, flooring or something, Infinity Floating, I don't know. I guess it's a boat. I don't know what the shit that Healing Center. Oh, it's, I don't know what that is. Probably some hippie shit. But it used to be a Suzuki and Yamaha. I think it was Yamaha dealer. Actually bought a bike or two from them. Anyway, originally I'd heard that there was going to be an Aprilia dealer up here in Brazelton. That being close to my house, because the place that I would have to go for service is in Douglasville. That's a 55-mile ride across Atlanta each way. That's a bitch of a drive at any normal time of day. As opposed to Yamaha dealers, I got two within 10 minutes of my house. That was kind of the deciding factor, I think. I thought about it, and I was like, because this was $14,400 plus taxes, it would have been an extra $1,500. Maybe with taxes and a couple, maybe let's just say $2,000. Not much of a difference. If you're already spending that much on a bike, what's another $2,000? Yeah, it was having to go that far for service was kind of the, you know, the service minder when you hit 600 miles. You can't do that yourself. You have to take it to the dealer and you have to pay them their hourly rate or whatever to plug in a laptop and go click and turn off the damn maintenance minder. Little things like that. That has a 2-year warranty versus 4 on this, but this is easier to get tuned. You don't pay the exorbitant exhaust, you know, all the accessories, everything for Ducati and Aprilia always tends to cost more. Of course, on the Aprilia, I probably wouldn't, yeah, here's the, as I'm thinking this through, I wouldn't have had to upgrade the exhaust as soon, or I'm sorry, the suspension. The Aprilia suspension was fine. On this, yeah, I had to order a Nitron shock and some heavier springs. Stay tuned for that, because we're going to have some good, we'll have some good video of that. I'll be up at Ken's shop and set up the tripod, and that'll be a cool thing. Yeah, the Nitron shock's going to be really nice. I did. It was about $1,000 for the shock, so I think I paid $9.99 for it. And then I had to get a set of heavier springs up front, and then some other things. All the labor and everything, you know, sprung done for me, including setup. I think it's going to be around $1,700 total. So not cheap, but that right there is the difference between the Yamaha and the Aprilia. But if you're a smaller rider, then, you know, the stock suspension will be fine for you. But that should be a good video. I don't know when that's going to be. Probably late June by the time it comes in. What is really awesome is that the Nitron is a good shock. It's 3-way adjustable, so it'll be preload, obviously, and then as far as the valving goes, it's 3-way. So you got compression, you got rebound, and then you got both low and high speed compression. So that'll be a nice. The only thing I didn't opt for was the extra $200 for the reservoir shot. You know, the external. I'm just like, whatever. For the preload, you know, the remote adjuster. On some bikes where it's a bitch to get the spanner wrench in there, but this bike, it's real easy. So he's like, we can get it with a spanner wrench. No reason to spend money on that. I don't take a passenger, so it's a set it and forget it for me. Unless I gained 100 pounds or lost 100 pounds, it ain't gonna make a difference. All right, we're gonna slow down a bit, let a gap grow between me and that truck. But once we get up there, we're not really any place for a cop to hide. I'm gonna go ahead and grip it and rip it. And we'll see, we'll do an audio check on that. I really hope I get home, and maybe I'll cut some of this stuff out so you don't have to listen to this for like an hour. But I'm also trying to test how long does the battery last under different situations. I hit some rough pavement, you know. How's the image stabilization? How's the noise? If I ran it at 4K 60 for 45 minutes, how much of my battery is left? So this is important scientific work here we're doing. All right, little gap here. As soon as I can see whether there's no cops coming. We are now in second gear. No cop, no cop. All right, we got up close to 6 triple digits. So we'll see how the wind noise was. And then we are wide open throttle, so we'll see how that sounds. My goal is this works. If not, my adapter will come in. So all right, so one of the things, if you get this or you have a GoPro, microphone, you got the 3.5 millimeter headphone jacks. They come in 2 different flavors. So when you get a 3.5 millimeter headphone jack and it doesn't work, it's because you got the wrong kind. Most of the jacks on these microphones, they come in 2. So the 2 flavors are TRS, tip. Shit, I don't remember what the damn anagram stands for. It's like, is it tip? Basically, is it kind of like left and right? Like when you have it for headphone, like if you got a headphone jack on a phone, you know, you need stereo. You need 2 sets of whatchamacallits, 2 sets of you know, left and right. So, but on a microphone like this, I don't think you do. It's omnidirectional, so it's basically a mono signal. So you need the right number of connectors, and you can basically just count the rings on your microphone plug itself. That guy really gonna be a dick? Let's see. His plate says, "You so slow." I'm not gonna pass you and be a total dick. So you gotta make sure you get the right. So the Giant Squid that I'm using is TRS, so it just plugs right in. You buy the Insta360 One RS 360 or Insta360 One RS, and it's just a little $20 plug that snaps in securely into the side, and it gives you a USB-C port so you can charge while you're recording. Which would be nice, because if I mounted it here, I could I've got USB plugs, I can plug my USB into that and charge the camera while I'm recording and not have to worry about the battery running out. but it uses TRS. The Purple Panda is TRRS, so you just need one of those little short adapters that goes from the basically 3-ring or to 2-ring to 3-ring or whatever it is. So that'll be here tomorrow. So I'm gonna, hopefully this works well, but then I'll do a test run with the Purple Panda and see if it's any better. And if it doesn't work from there, then we're gonna have to, I'm gonna have to talk to somebody who has this camera and does motovlogging on loud motorcycles and see what microphone they use that we know verified it works. And even if it costs me $100, it'll be $100 well spent if it actually does what it's supposed to. So, anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and shut this down. I think we've got enough test data. I'll be able to see how long the video was and calculate the battery usage, and we'll get some updates on that. And continue fine-tuning this, see if we can get it to work and get back to our normal blogging or vlogging. And as I've mentioned before, this doesn't, last thing I'll say, this has a twofold process. It's not just, oh, I like to hear myself talk. Well, that may be a true statement. It really, you don't have the wind reduction doesn't really work that well. It's okay on GoPro and it sucks on pretty much everybody else. So there's just so much wind noise, especially when you're on a naked bike that doesn't have that wind protection. When I mount it up inside the bubble here on the ZX14, you don't, it's not really getting hit with the wind. It's in a very calm place, protected. But on naked bikes, this or the Speed Twin, I don't know if I had it on my helmet on the Kawasaki, so it wasn't in that protective bubble behind the windscreen. It's hard to get clean audio of the motorcycle sound of the motor. All you hear is the wind noise. All right, we're gonna take a right, go back the way we came. So that's about a quarter mile back up right there. Watch out for there's a gravel in this turn. That's all I've got, so I'm going to get up to if I can find any kind of straightaway. I guess I can hit the button with my left hand. So I'm getting a straightaway so I can put on cruise control and use my right hand to stop recording. But there's nobody behind me, so we'll talk to you guys later.